Hey there everybody, Coach Brandon here. Today I'm here with Coach Adam, and he's going to be helping me guide you guys through transitioning from side pins into straddle pins. So what does that mean? Adam, real quick, can you lay down long ways here? Side pins are pins where my two legs are to one side of Adam's two legs. Side control is an example of this. Knee mount is an example of this. And north-south is an example of this. So we learned how to hold and maintain those three positions, and this week we're going to be looking at how to go from those three positions into our two straddle pins. Now in a straddle pin, can you put your head toward the camera? My two knees are straddling Adam's body, Adam's torso, his hips. So we have the mount position here, or if he were to turn away, we have the back position here. So these two are our straddle pins, where we're pinning our opponent with our two legs straddled around their body. So in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at transitioning from side control pins, or side pins, into straddle pins. Let's do a really quick recap of some stuff we've looked at in the past. Once again, on your back, Adam. So remember that during all of our pinning activity, we have three main targets. Those three main targets are the hips. We want to control the hips to keep the knees out and to keep their legs out. Target number two is the head. Usually some variation of crossface to have control of our opponent's head and shoulders. And then number three is our opponent's elbows. We want to start wedging inside and controlling our opponent's elbows so we can start isolating the limbs out and away from the body to get to submissions. So those three targets: hips, head, elbows. Now, with those three targets, we want to keep two very simple ideas in mind, two very simple directives. Number one, stay inside their knees and control their hips. We've seen a lot of ways to do this. We've seen I can have, with my action arm, near hip elbow blocks, near hip elbow wedges, far hip elbow wedges, and far hip elbow blocks. With my mounting leg, I can have near hip knee blocks, near hip knee wedge, far hip knee wedge, far hip knee block, or a V mount. A shin mount, a shin mount, as we've seen before, where my shin is mounted across my opponent's hips. We also had our upper body, our arms. What did they do? Let's bring your head this way a little bit. I've got cross faces. I've got reverse cross faces. I have far side overhooks where I take my wrist inside his elbow. I have reverse underhooks. And I have near side underhooks. With my action arm, as I mentioned, I have all of the wedges around the hips. I also have an underhook here. This underhook will also allow me to go into submissions and transitions and etc. This underhook will allow me to take his elbow out and away from his body to clear space for the mount. We're going to look at that later. So these are the different ways that I use my limbs to hold my partner down. Now I want to go over some of those really quick because we're going to use a lot of those as we make our transitions around our partner's body. So let's get into our transitions now. Let's get into transitioning from side pins into straddle pins. The first family of these transitions we're going to look at is moving from side control into the mount position. Okay, we can do this with step over transitions, and we can do this with knee drive transitions. First one I'm going to show, a knee drive transition over my opponent's body. So from side control, okay, we're here, maybe he's got his elbows in, right? First, I want to set a good cross face here, just like so. Now, what I would like to do is I'd like to get this elbow out of my hip and my leg. The problem with this elbow is if I mount, he can elbow escape with my trail leg. Okay, let's rotate a little bit. He puts this elbow right here, and as I force my way to the mount, this leg becomes light, the elbow escapes on the trail leg. So we don't want to have that elbow dominating the inside position as we make our transition. So we're going to get that elbow out the same way we saw in previous lessons with our pummeling leg. So from here, maybe I hit a center line shift and I hip drag to get this near elbow out of my way, okay? If this elbow is a problem, if he's got this elbow in my way, I post on the elbow and I bring my head around. So when we're here, just relax a little bit. And I start to feel this elbow controlling my head. I'm gonna post on the elbow, bring my head over, and now that elbow, he can't frame with it anymore. Now when he goes to frame with that elbow, he can't, it's stuck. On the near side, if I can do a knee pummel, that'd be great. That'll work on more naive opponents. Sometimes you do a hip pummel where I use my hip and drag my hip inside the elbow. But the strongest ways to do it are with a center line shift where I drive him onto his far side. That raises this elbow off the mat and exposes it for my left knee and my left hip. When I can force that into this position, I can come back with my hips and my knee, and I can take that elbow out of position out of my hip. So I'm here, I clear this first elbow. I hit a center line shift, and I clear the near elbow. Now that I've got his elbows out of my way, I'm ready to go to the mount. Now, a problem here is Adam keeps his knee tied up against my hip. When I go to the mount, I pick my knee up, I go to put my knee on his hip, but the problem is my hips come up and his knees come in front of my hips. So I need to make sure I keep control inside the pocket of the hip so this knee can't come in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my right arm, thread it through to a near hip elbow block initially, and then take it to a near hip elbow wedge. Now when he tries to bring his knee inside my hip, my elbow keeps that space away so my knee can come up through, just like so. Now with my knee through, I'm gonna drive my knee across. And now the last thing is to make sure I'm gonna let go of the crossface just so it's not as miserable for Adam. I'm just gonna go here for him. Now lastly, I need to be able to take my foot out. But the problem is Adam is gonna be keeping his knee like so. So when I go to take my foot out, I put it right down in between his legs. So we need to have some good methods for clearing our ankle. One good method that I like is by using my right knee to clear his knee out of the way. I keep my crossface in my underhook so I have leverage to sprawl against him. And then I let my right knee drive down against his side. Now when he goes to capture my ankle, I can take it out wide, and then I take it up here high into the armpit, trying to get inside the elbow. Okay? So one more time, I'm here. I'm through. I want to take my ankle out, but I feel like he's ready to catch it. So I need to have some tricks to not let him catch it. We lock our head and arm. I drive my knee down his thigh, and now when I go to flip my foot out, when he goes to catch it, he cannot. And then when I return, I slide my knee high in the armpit, so that now when he goes to get inside position with his elbow, I have the inside position. That will allow me to take the arms out of position and up into positions where I can start going on the attack. That's our knee drive transition. Another way we can do the knee drive transition is to do it right from that center line shift position. I'm gonna bring you just a little bit this way. So I'm here, I clear this elbow. Here. Now, when I go to do when I clear this near elbow, you remember I did a center line shift. Here. I can stay right in this center line shift, and I can scrape my knee up. As Adam tries to bring his knee in, I take my knee into the pocket of his hip just like so, and we end up in the same position. I scrape my knee down, flip my foot out, slide my knee up to the armpit, and we're once again in a position ready to attack. So that's one way to clear the ankle out of the knee drive transition. I'm going to show you a couple others. One is I can transition. Actually, first I'll show the butterfly hook. That's easier. So once I get my knee up and through, we've seen I can use my right knee to clear his knee. Another thing that I really like to do is a butterfly hook. Understand that when I bring this through, he wants to take his two knees together and clamp my ankle, so I can't get my ankle out. So when I'm here, before I release my left foot, sometimes what I'll do is I'll take my left foot in as a butterfly hook. Now when I release my ankle and he tries to capture my ankle, and my right leg, go ahead and bring your knees together. My right leg takes in a butterfly hook on the other leg. So now he goes to capture my two ankles, and he can't because I dominate the inside position with both butterfly hooks. And then whenever I'm ready, almost simultaneously, I take my 2 feet out. So again, I drive through. I feel Adam's knee waiting for my right foot. So rather than just giving my right foot to him, my left foot comes up and dominates the inside of his right knee. Now as I bring my foot through, he's going to try to capture my ankle, and I dominate the inside position. I dominate his 2 knees. Then we release and we take the mount. So I could use my knee to clear his thigh like we saw before, or I could use my 2 butterfly hooks inside of his knees. One more way that I'll do this is this step. Sometimes I go here, he has his knee waiting. So in order for his knee to be waiting, he has to have his body committed onto his left hip. So I'm not really concerned with escapes to his right hand side anymore. I'm not concerned with escapes over to this side. So what I'll do sometimes from here, I will put all my weight on my left, extending my right butterfly hook, and then I'll just take my right foot and pummel it to its bottom hip. Just like so. So when I'm here, Adam's trying to capture my leg, he's trying to not let me finish the mount. He's going to keep his knees tight to his chest as much as possible, this kind of thing. I go here, and I just step right into the hip. Now from here, if I want, I could put my right knee down and score mount position. Or from this position, it's also very easy to start going through inside the arms and going into submissions. So a couple ways to complete the knee drive transition. We either use our knee to clear the thigh out of the way so we can slap our foot out on the far side. I use 2 butterfly hooks to dominate the space between his knees so he cannot capture my ankle. And then I can simply unweight my leg and position my foot in the far hip, which is a simple step over. Now, closely related to that last transition, that step over, let me show it again. Closely related to this method, we have the step over method, transition to the mount. Okay, now with the step over, there's a couple different ways to do this, but I'm literally just stepping over like the name implies. So from here, we have a kneeling step over, for instance, where I do a center line shift, forcing him over. I just block out his legs. I put my hand on the bottom knee. When Adam tries to bring his bottom knee to his chest, he can't, my hand is stopping it. When Adam tries to bring his top knee to his chest, my right arm is also in the way. Okay, so I make sure my right arm and my right shoulder stay inside. Now from here, I just take a nice big wide step, up and over, making sure that my foot lands inside the knee. If my foot lands outside the knee, he can bring his knee to his chest and he gets inside position. So I step with my foot inside his knee. He brings his knee to his chest, my ankle blocks his knee out. So again, I'm here. I hit my center line shift. I put my I put my left knee down. My right hand comes out and monitors the knee. And now as Adam tries to prevent my mount, keeping his knees tight to his chest, I take a big, knees tight, take a big wide step over, just like so. Arm through, and we're into the mount position. If you are, maybe have shorter limbs, I'm here, I post, maybe I can't keep my knee down and bring my right leg up. Your left knee can come up. I can take my left knee off the floor. Here. To get a nice, big, high step. So even as Adam keeps this knee tight to his chest, pull your right knee toward your chest. Yes. Even here, I come up nice and high. I step over that knee. If you have the mobility and flexibility to do it with your knee down, that's great. If you don't, you can take your left knee off the floor. Let's rotate. If I'm here and I'm trying to step over, keep your knee tight to your chest. And I can't step over because my legs are too short. I can take my left knee off the floor to gain some more height and get over the knees. And then I have my kneeling step over transition. We also have a reverse sit through transition. Okay, or a reverse sit through step over transition. So in this one, you'll see what a lot of people do. Let's rotate your head this way and put your knees down. So if I'm here, I go to a reverse cross face and a near hip elbow block. You'll see people traditionally sit down on their hip like so, just like so, and then they'll step over from here. If Adam's knees are up toward his chest, I can slap the legs out of the way and step over. Now the problem with this old school method, this is not the way I want you to do it. The problem with this method is your hip is on the floor and you have no base of support behind you. So if I go here, I go to hit a step over, if Adam bridges into me, he might take me all the way back over. If he bridges and explodes up and over my hips, go ahead. He might come all the way up into top side control. So the way that I keep my stability with this, drop your knees again. I go to a reverse cross face, a near hip elbow block. I take my left knee toward his hip, but notice I'm still on my knee. I never step down to my hip. I'm here. Now, Adam's knees are up toward his chest. I'm here. I go to slap the legs by and step over to get to the mat. Now, if Adam goes to bridge me at this point, my left toe's on the mat. Look at how my left toes are caught. And I have the ball of my foot on the floor. If Adam goes to bridge into me, I just lift. I drive back into him, a good strong bridge in, drive back in, and I can step over. So let's change your orientation now. So I'm here. I go, if I'm interested in that step over transition, reverse cross face, near hip block, my knee comes down to the near hip, and I don't put my hip down. Okay? Now, Adam's elbow's in my hip. I don't like that, so I'm gonna clear this elbow out of my hip. I'm gonna use a hip pummel. Coming in, dragging. Knee comes down. Now, if Adam goes to bridge, my left foot and even my right foot, he goes to bridge in again, my right foot and my left foot are a good base. If my left foot comes over, if he goes to bridge, my right foot is a good base of support. If I put my hip down, he goes to bridge, he's gonna take me up and over. So my right toes are cocked, my hips are off the floor, and I'm just like so. So I come in like so, hips off the floor, he bridges into me, means nothing. I slap the leg, step over, and I take him out. So that's 3 good transitions from side control to mount, and that's going to make up probably the majority of our video. The knee drive transition, then we had the kneeling step over and the reverse sit through step over. So knee drive, kneeling step over, reverse sit through step over. Now let's look at some ways to get to the back from side control. That's going to the straddle pin chest to chest. Let's look at chest to back, going to back control. He's on his back. We can do this proactively or reactively. Okay? If we want to do this reactively, Adam starts getting an underhook. I go to this side, I hit my top spin right here, replacing my arms. We've seen this in the past. My right arm goes to the hip, my back, and now I can start taking the back from here. Okay? If Adam gets all the way to turtle, we're going to see in the future how we deal with this. If he has a closed turtle, we start breaking him down, getting him to widen his face, and now we can start taking the back and inserting hooks. So again, reactively with a top spin, From here, I see Adam is getting an underhook and he starts to turn up onto his side. I put my left arm here and the hip as a block, stepping over the head, right arm goes through, and now from here I can latch a seatbelt. Now another way to take the back from here is with a chair sit. This time Adam's shoulders are on the floor, so I can't slide my knee underneath his body like I could before. So I'm just going to lock a good seatbelt. Rotate. I'm going to lock a seatbelt here. If I'm able to go the distance, I like to also grab this top wrist and lock a combination between a seatbelt and a Kimura grip. If you can't get the wrist, that's fine. The seatbelt can't work. This wrist grip makes it a lot better. Now, my right leg comes up and over, like I'm doing a step over transition to the mount. My knee comes underneath of his head, and I'm going to do something I call a chair sit or a knee pillow. I'm going to sit onto my butt, keeping my head up, and I'm going to pull him into my lap like I'm sitting into a chair. Notice I did not go onto my back, I did not go to my shoulders, I stayed up. Now from here, I'm going to rock from my left hip to my right hip. Left hip down, and I'm going to roll across my butt to my right hip. Here, as I sit up. Now I fall to this side with my bottom hook in. My top hook comes in as well, and now we have the back. So that is reactively with our top spin using a chair sit. Now we're going to look at proactively taking the back from side control. Actually, we got another reactive when he turns out. Let's go through that. Bring it this way. So we looked at when he turns into turtle, where he gets the underhook and he turns into me. But if he turns away from me, it works as well. If he brings this arm through and starts turning away and turning out to turtle, I'm going to control the hips. As Adam tries to make his way up to turtle, I can use my hand inside the hip to control the speed with which he can get up to turtle. If I don't have my hand on the hip, he can get to turtle very quickly, and I lose my opportunity to take the back. So I want to control here. He goes to get up to turtle. I apply weight to the hips. He has to scissor his legs. He has to make that space for my hip, my left leg to come underneath. And now I can perform a second breakdown or a pull of the hip to break him into my lap. I set my seatbelt, top hook goes in, and now I'm ready to ready to attack from the back. So using a tight waist, we use a tight waist control to slow down my opponent's ability to turtle. And because I can slow down their ability, I have time to shoot my bottom hook in. One more time for you to see that. So I'm here. Adam goes to turn out and away. I control a tight waist. He gets up. My hook goes in. I break him down, and I take him out. Now let's look at proactively taking the back, forcing back exposure here. Okay. From side control, we go to a reverse cross face and a near hip elbow block. Now from our reverse cross face, we go to a far side overhook, where I take my thumb and my wrist inside the elbow, up on the body like so. Now from here, taking my knees off the floor, I begin to work my way around, driving across Adam's body to drive his elbow across. Now from here, I come up behind the head with my right arm. I take that same grip we looked at before. Okay, let me show it again from the other side. I'm here. My right arm comes in as a far side overhook. You can't see it right now, you saw it before on the other side. I walk around and I drive across the body to force my wrist between his elbow and his body. Now from here I can either lock it Kimura, or my left arm can come behind his head and I can lock this Kimura seatbelt combo. Now from here we do the same thing. My leg comes up and over and I step into the hip. My knee goes underneath of his head. My shin is lining up on his back. My shin is running along his back. So my foot is touching his back too. My foot is between me and him. Now I sit from my left hip up to my two buttocks to my right hip. We go down, we set our hooks, and we're ready to attack from the back. So that's side control to back control. Now, we have to look at doing the same kind of transitions from north-south and from knee mount. but they're all basically going to be variations of what we've already done. So I'm going to cruise through these kind of quickly, and they should look pretty familiar to you. They should look pretty similar to our transitions from side control to mount and from side control to back control. So first, let's look at north-south to mount. In the north-south position, keep that right, please. The north-south position, okay, just like our knee drive transition to mount. From here, if I want to work my way into the mount, I'm going to take my elbow across Adam's hips like so, as an elbow wedge in the pocket of the hip. So when Adam tries to bring his knees back between me and him, he cannot. From here, I step up with the same side leg. I connect my knee and my elbow together so I can drive my knee through. Now from here with my knee mount, which is another one of our positions, we're going to go from knee mount to mount. So again, this is very similar to everything we've been doing. We're going to finish with a knee drive transition. I get my cross face, I get my underhook. I drive my knee across to mount. And now you remember our 3 methods for clearing the ankle. We can either use our knee to clear his thigh out of the way. Okay. I can either move my weight and just step my foot into the pocket of the hip. Otherwise, if he's ready to receive my ankle, I can also use this other butterfly hook. Where I come in, I pummel in a butterfly hook, and I have double butterfly hooks. And I pass from there. So again, from north-south, very easy. My elbow comes across the hips, elbow, knee together, control the head and the underhook, come through, and then we use one of our methods to make sure we don't get our ankle caught. Let's look at north-south to back control. This can be reactive or it can be proactive. If it's reactive, it's very similar to the top spin. It's just the second half of the top spin. If I'm in here and Adam reaches across my body into like an underhook and he can start to scissor his legs, he can start to wrestle up, exactly, and he can start to wrestle, okay? When I see this kind of thing happen, go ahead, I capture the hip, I come around to this side. Now as he tries to go up, I use my tight waist to control his speed, hook goes in, we take the back. So it's like the second half of a top spin. We can also take the back proactively from north-south. Very similar to using our far side overhook from side control. But now we're going to use an overhook from north-south. I'm here. I'm going to take I'll do it on this side. I'll take my wrist and wedge it inside the elbow. That's okay, you can have this. I'll get that out of my way later. So I'm here, my wrist comes here near the armpit. Now I'm going to turn my body using my right shoulder to clear everything across his body. So I get to this position here with my hand going through his elbow. I can lock up my kimura. Now from my kimura, my left arm goes around the head and we have our same favorite grip. Sometimes we have to work with only a seatbelt. If it's possible, I always prefer to grab this wrist and work with a kimura seatbelt. This time I'll demonstrate with just a seatbelt, okay? I take my leg up and over. Now because I only have a seatbelt, I don't have quite as good a control of the head and shoulders. So I need to make sure I'm ear to ear and I have good head position and I have a nice tightly cinched seatbelt. Now from here I sit down, I rock from my left hip to my 2 butt cheeks, to my right hip, and we take the back. So that's north-south to the back with a proactive method, using that overhook to force the back exposure. So we've seen it from north-south, we've seen a knee drive transition, and we've seen our transitions to back control. Okay, we can also do a step over transition to mount. I'm sorry, this is getting kind of scattered, I apologize. But if I'm here, I can sit through like so. If he's pushing my hips and I'm up, getting up like this, I can sit through, slap the legs, come through to the mount position. So that's north-south to our various straddle pins. North-south to mount and north-south to back control. Now let's look at knee mount to our other positions. Again, it's going to be very similar to our transitions from side control to mount and from side control to back control, but now we're doing it from a knee mount. Let's put you right in front of the camera here. From here, maybe I transition into the knee mount position. Now from knee mount, maybe I feel like Adam is starting to threaten my control. Maybe he's going to start pushing my foot through, so I'm going to drive my knee all the way through to the floor. And now all I need to do is start looking to get my cross face, my underhook, and now I find ways to make sure my ankle makes it, either using my knee, using a butterfly hook, or using our step over. Okay. Knee mount to back control. If I'm here, he might turn into turtle, where he turns in like he's going to go for a single leg maybe. Yep, go back. Like you might be wrapping around going for a single leg. I can step to the far side. I slide my knee underneath. Let's go. I get my seatbelt. I slide my knee underneath of his ribs right here. Now he's between my two knees. My knees are straddling his body. I put my hook in. I roll him onto my bottom hook. And then the top hook goes in. So that was essentially using a top spin to go from one side of the body to the far side and then exposing the back. Okay? One more time this way. From this position, however I do it, I clear the way for knee mount. As Adam tries to turn into me, I push the head down and step over. My arm blocks the hip. Now I'm going to replace as I back step. Now from here, I control my seatbelt just like we did before. If he stays down on his shoulder, if he stays down, we use our chair sit method, where I rock from one hip to the other. However, if I finish this transition and Adam starts to come up onto his elbow, now I wrap my seatbelt, and now I don't need to do quite a chair sit the same way. Now there's space for my knee to come underneath because he's up on his elbow. So if he's down on his shoulder, we have to use our chair sit where we physically pull him into our lap. If he's up on an elbow, there's space for our knee to come through so our knees can start straddling his hips on either side. So from here I wrap my seatbelt, my knee shoots underneath, my top hook goes in, and then I don't let him stay on my bottom leg where the bottom hook is missing. So I pull him to this side. So my bottom hook is in. And then I can put my top hook in. Here, score our points. Here, solidify control. So that's